Hello, it's October 31st, 2023, and recording this from just outside Cambridge in the UK. The theme I wanted to reflect on today, which is on a phrase which came to me when I was sitting here. And here's the phrase: non-duality and duality are both forms of God. I'll repeat that. Non-duality and duality are both forms of God. And please excuse my tiredness today. I'm recovering from a cold and a cough. So what meaning this phrase has to me is related to my 30-year conscious spiritual journey. And there's been much focus in that spiritual journey, and what I've noticed in the spiritual contexts I've practiced in, on the non-dual, the ultimate, the ground of being, the unity of all that is. What I've also noticed, both in myself and in the cultural contexts, the communities of practice that are strongly oriented to this focus on a spiritual journey, is that there can be an attachment to the realization or the seeking of non-duality. There can be a identification and a conceptual prioritization or preference for non-duality over what we could call duality or multiplicity. And I think it's really important to name this, because I think part of that attachment to the non-dual is what leads to a kind of quietism. And the old Chinese Zen masters would often call their students out on this. They would say, "You stink of Zen." So what I find to be powerful about the practice of ally work is it both contains in its practice, in the experience of its practice form, it contains that coming home to the non-dual, to the resting in presence, and it also calls us to engage in the world of duality, of multiplicity. How are we integrating the knowing ourselves as unity, as non-duality, as non-dual awareness? How are we integrating that? How are we individuating as that in the world of form, in the world of multiplicity? Ibn Arabi would say that we are constantly journeying between immanence You can think of immanence as this world of multiplicity, and transcendence. We are constantly journeying between immanence and transcendence. We are constantly journeying between non-dual recognition, the recognition of unity, and immanence, in which that unity is expressing itself in multiplicity, in variegation, in diversity. So it's been really important for me to recognize the places that I can become attached to that transcendent view. And you could say spiritually bypass immanence. What this points me to, or leads me to reflect on as I am reflecting on it, is that we are in a alive relationship with finding this balance of immanence and transcendence. Sometimes we might be more engaged in the transcendent mode, sometimes more in the mode of immanence. So we're seeking to find a fluency, a capacity to move between these orientations without getting attached to either. So non-duality and duality are both forms of God. We neither want to bypass the immanent, nor do we want to bypass the transcendent. We're seeking an integration of understanding, of being, that can hold the vastness of that dance. And even bringing to mind the image of a Mobius strip or an infinity loop, seeing the weaving, the moving in and out of these two, could say, poles of the divine as being part of one flow or one movement. Having comfort with both the stillness and the restingness that can be a quality of being in touch with this transcendent dimension of being. This recognition of ourselves in our true nature. And in the dynamic, active movement of this true nature coming into form and expressing itself and engaging itself in the multiplicity of moments, in the multiplicity of spaces, in active engagement with the multiplicity of the many forms of being. So thank you for you and your engagement, and wishing you many blessings.